I'd come home 4 days early from a grueling work trip, craving the quiet of my riverside cabin in Willow Bend, expecting nothing but the soft hum of the Tallapoosa River and the rustle of pine trees. Instead, I pulled into my driveway on a crisp October evening in 2027 to find my backyard transformed into a chaotic, HOA-sanctioned community barbecue. Grills sizzled, music thumped, and over 50 strangers treated my property like their personal playground. A woman sporting an official-looking badge from the Willow Bend HOA locked eyes with me and, with chilling calm, declared I was trespassing on my own land. When I pushed back, this self-appointed queen bee, Margaret Hensley, had the audacity to call the police while her crew kept flipping burgers on my porch. What she didn't know was she'd just crossed the wrong person, and I was about to unravel her scheme in a way that would leave her scrambling. Let me set the scene. This cabin wasn't just a house site, was my heart. My grandfather, Walter, owned it for decades, and my fondest memories were tied to this place. Lazy summer days casting lines into the river, evening cookouts where he'd point out constellations, quiet mornings reading westerns on the porch swing. He passed away 9 months ago, and I was still raw with grief. As a data analyst working remotely for a fintech startup, this cabin was my refuge, a place to escape the world's noise and feel close to him. I'd even planned to propose to my fiancée, Clara, here next month, right in the garden where Walter taught me to spot wild herbs. So, imagine my shock when I saw 40 cars lining the riverbank, music blaring, and the smell of charred meat hanging heavy in the air. For a fleeting moment, I thought Clara might have planned a surprise. But as I stepped closer, I realized these were total strangers lounging on my furniture, cooking on my grill, and worst of all, rearranging Walter's hand-carved birdhouses like cheap party props. My chest tightened as I watched people I'd never met dancing where Walter and I used to watch the sunset. That's when Margaret Hensley strutted over. She was in her mid-40s, with sleek blonde hair and a badge reading Willow Bend HOA Event Coordinator. Her apron, embroidered with Margaret's Riverfront Events, screamed authority, and she wielded it like a weapon. "Hello there," she said with a smirk that dripped condescension. "Here for the community festival?" When I explained this was my cabin, inherited from my grandfather, she didn't flinch. "Oh, dear, I get the sentimental attachment," she cooed, "but rules are rules. The HOA has jurisdiction over community spaces due to unpaid dues. Want to see the paperwork?" She flashed a document with signatures I didn't recognize, citing emergency community use by an HOA president named Evelyn Harper, a name I'd never heard. What I didn't know then was Margaret was a disgraced real estate agent who'd lost her license for funneling client funds. After a bitter divorce drained her savings, she'd reinvented herself as a community organizer, believing she was doing everyone a favor. She'd mastered manipulation, using her old sales tactics to bully homeowners around the river. She even had a posse, 6 volunteers she paid $50 each to play along. Carla the grill master, Jim the DJ, Ellen and Todd the decorators, Mark on logistics, and Sophie on cleanup. They were just broke friends she'd roped into her charade. Seeing strangers sprawl across Walter's porch, eating off his old ceramic plates, sitting in his favorite rocking chair, it felt like someone was spitting on his grave. Part of me wanted to scream and kick them out, but 50 people stared at me like I was the lunatic crashing their party. Margaret's badge and documents looked so official, I started doubting myself. Maybe I'd missed some HOA rule during the estate transfer. The social pressure was crushing. I didn't want to be the jerk ruining everyone's fun if there was a legitimate explanation. But when I insisted it was my property, Margaret dialed 911 right there, cool as ice. "We've got a disruptor at an approved community event," she told the operator. "He's claiming ownership of HOA land. Possible mental health concern." I was floored she was painting me as unhinged while stealing my home. Within minutes, Officer Daniels arrived, taking in the scene, a polished barbecue with a badge-wearing organizer versus one frantic guy waving property papers. "This is a civil matter, sir," he said. "Take it up through legal channels." Even the cop bought her act. As Margaret escorted me to my own driveway, she leaned in and whispered, "Smart men know when to fold, Ethan. I have connections you can't touch." That night, holed up in a dingy motel because I couldn't stay in my own house, I felt gutted. How had she flipped reality so fast? Then my phone pinged with a text from an unknown number. Check your county records online. She's hiding something. A concerned neighbor. My hands shook as I logged into the county website, and what I found made my blood run cold. My property showed a lien for $3,000 in unpaid HOA dues filed the same day Walter's obituary ran in the local paper. How did Margaret know he died before I even got back from the funeral? The next morning, I dove into the records. The $3,000 lien was filed 5 months ago, but I'd never received a single bill, and all of Walter's mail had come to me since his passing. Then I noticed something chilling. The Willow Bend HOA was created 6 months ago after Walter's death. In 40 years at the river, there'd never been an HOA. Margaret had invented a fake organization to justify her scam. As a data analyst, I knew how to dig online, and the more I learned about Margaret Hensley, the more my jaw dropped. She wasn't lying low after my confrontation, she doubled down. That morning, a certified letter arrived on official-looking stationery, threatening $12,000 in damages for noncompliance with HOA community space designation. The nerve was unreal. Later, I learned she was drowning in debt to her volunteers and needed the weekend's events to stay afloat. She was trapped in her own lies, forced to keep pushing forward. Thankfully, Clara arrived. "Ethan, this letterhead's a joke," she laughed, pointing out mismatched fonts and cheap printer paper. Her validation kept me sane. We started documenting everything: photos, screenshots, you name it. A neighbor, Sarah, called after seeing me pacing the property, snapping pictures. "I've been waiting for someone to stand up to her," she said. Margaret used my pier for community kayaking lessons last month, charging $35 a head. When I complained, she threatened to report me for disrupting community peace. Sarah's story revealed Margaret's pattern: targeting riverfront properties when owners were away, hosting fake events, charging attendees, and pocketing the cash. Clara and I drove around the river, finding flyers for community fishing workshops at Tom's Dock and riverside yoga retreats at another cabin. Margaret was running a full-scale operation, using our homes as her business venues. Her website, Margaret's Riverfront Events, advertised $50 to $75 exclusive experiences featuring photos of our properties without permission. The emotional gut punch came when Sarah showed me security footage of strangers eating off Walter's plates and lounging in his rocking chair. I broke down right there, the grief I'd buried since his funeral flooding out. This wasn't just theft, it was desecrating the man who raised me. Then Clara spotted something chilling: a hidden camera in a fake plant by my front door. Margaret was recording me, building a case to paint me as the aggressor. I fought back with what I knew best: tech. I installed legal cameras around my property and kept digging into her digital trail. Her website was registered to her home address, and glowing reviews came from accounts created days apart, likely Margaret herself. The HOA president, Evelyn Harper, didn't exist in any records. She'd fabricated an entire person. We rallied allies. Tom, whose dock was used for fake fishing lessons, joined us after Margaret filed a bogus noise complaint that nearly cost him a job. Clara uncovered Margaret's social media, advertising my cabin for 2 events that weekend: a $1,500 family reunion and a $1,800 anniversary party, netting her $3,300 on my stolen property. She even posted photos of me online, captioning them "suspicious individual harassing community events." The psychological warfare was relentless. I hit rock bottom one night, sobbing to Clara in our motel parking lot. "She's turning Walter's memory into a cash grab," I said. "Strangers are eating off his plates, sitting where we read together." Clara held me, and for the first time, I felt I wasn't fighting alone. An elderly neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, revealed Margaret had photographed my cabin and tampered with my locks weeks earlier. We decided to let the weekend's events unfold, recording everything to catch her red-handed. Saturday morning, the reunion family arrived, setting up tables and streamers. Margaret played the perfect host. At 11 a.m., the anniversary party showed up, and chaos erupted. Both groups thought they'd booked exclusive use of my cabin. Margaret tried to spin it, claiming the anniversary group was background entertainment, but doubt spread. When someone knocked over a massive barbecue sauce jug, the deck became a slippery mess, decorations scattered, and tempers flared. That's when we struck. Sarah, Tom, Mrs. Thompson, Clara, and I marched in with cameras and evidence. "This is my property. I shouted. You've all been scammed. Silence fell, then murmurs of confusion. Margaret tried to deflect, calling me a harasser, but we were ready. I showed my deed and tax records. Mrs. Thompson recounted Margaret's lock tampering. Sarah and Tom shared their stories. Clara presented screenshots of Margaret's ads. The families were livid. Some had saved for months. Others traveled hundreds of miles. Even Margaret's volunteers backed away, claiming they thought she had permission. Officer Daniels returned, now seeing a fraud operation in plain sight. "Ma'am, you're coming with us," he said. In a desperate bid to flee, Margaret sprinted across the deck, hit the sauce slick, and slid into an inflatable pool filled with ice and soda cans. Drenched, sauce-smeared, and screaming about her rights, she was cuffed and hauled away, still ranting about her community service. In a twist of fate, the families united, merging their events into one massive riverfront celebration. I offered my cabin for free, and our coalition made it unforgettable. For the first time since Walter's death, the property sang with joy, not grief. But as the party wound down, a text from an unknown number chilled me. "This isn't over, Ethan." Some fights end in court, others in the dark. Margaret faced charges for fraud, theft, and falsifying documents. At the victim impact hearing, Sarah, Tom, and the families laid bare the damage. I told Margaret, "You tried to steal Walter's legacy, but this community showed what real connection looks like." She insisted she was creating joy, but the judge wasn't buying it. She got 20 months in jail, full restitution, and a lifetime ban from event planning. From the ashes, we built an annual Willow Bend River Day, a free, neighbor-led celebration. I proposed to Clara in Walter's garden, and she said yes amid cheers. Our coalition grew. Sarah started a legit pier rental business. Tom taught boating safety, and Mrs. Thompson documented our river's true history. 2 years later, in October 2029, Clara and I were married, expecting our son, named Walter. The cabin was home again, the nursery overlooking the river. A creepy real estate flyer once spooked us, but it was just a pushy investor's ploy, not Margaret. She'd finished parole, working a real job in another county, even sending me a note, learning honesty. "Thanks for stopping me." Our 5th River Day was our biggest, with Clara's book about our fight inspiring communities nationwide. My app, RiverGuard, helped thousands detect property scams. As I spoke to the crowd, I felt Walter's pride. Truth always rises. But that night, as we cleaned up, Sarah whispered she'd seen someone watching from across the river, binoculars glinting. The figure vanished, but a faint whisper carried over the water. "Enjoy it while it lasts, Ethan." Who sent that final threat? Was Margaret really reformed, or is she plotting from the shadows? Could someone else be targeting our community? Drop your theories below, hit like if you think she got what she deserved, and subscribe for more stories of justice and resilience. What would you do if someone tried to steal your home?